Luca Nation, we'll kick it right off. Reason being is it's actually been probably 4 days since we've recorded like a daily episode. We had Dr. Collectible on Friday. We had the PWCC on Saturday. Mama Breaks was Sunday. So it's been a minute since Cage and I connected and riffed a little bit about, hobby, what's going on in the market, kind of NBA heating up, MLB's right around the corner, any offseason NFL moves, tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff to talk about. So it definitely might be a longer episode. I have a whole slew of topics here. From basically, there's more shows in the month of March than there are weekends. So there's
lots of shows.
Philly, Dallas, Chantilly, Mint, and I'm sure Union Marketplace, which people. I mean, I think that was in the top 2 of hobby awards. So a ton of stuff going on. I've got a bunch of stuff here with, the Knicks are streaking.
Yep.
Changing the guard. Zion's probably going to be out for the season. John Moran and his antics. Mikal Bridges, I think he's the truth, and he reminds me of another Brooklyn Net. Best places to buy right now, best places to sell.
Let's start with that. What's the best
Chris
places
Rock
to buy and best
special,
places to
if
sell?
you want to touch on
Chris
that.
Rock special is interesting, too. Chris Rock special, I learned one thing from that.
Tell me.
If everybody in the world is calling you out, don't choose to respond to only the weakling because you look like more of a bitch. That's what he kind of pointed out. If everybody out there is saying that you're a bitch and everybody out there is saying that, you got problems, if you're going to respond, don't slap the little guy whose ass you know you can whip because it's just going to make you look worse.
That's what you took away. Interesting. Did you watch the special?
Whole thing. He's funny. I like Chris Rock.
It fell a little flat for me. Like, I love Chris Rock. I love
Why did it fall flat?
Okay, so my favorite stand-up comic, I have 2 of them probably, is Chappelle and Ricky Gervais.
And Vladimir Zelensky.
Yeah.
No?
A lot of people don't know that he was a comedian. We have the first channel. It's called Pierre Canal in our home. So we were anyway.
Roughly translated, this is supposed to be funny, right? That's what that means in Russian.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
Ricky's just punchy. Like he just punches.
Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chappelle. What I think is amazing about Chappelle is he always has kind of like a thread that you could kind of weave throughout the stand-up. And you're like, okay, that's kind of the vibe he's giving off. Okay. I didn't really understand sort of from the Chris Rock. I didn't leave with anything. He's funny. Chris is obviously one of the best comedians in the world.
I mean, it was an hour of jokes. You want you want to have like a story? You wanted it to be a movie or like a show, a miniseries you wanted it to be. Like the Chappelle Show and Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais has produced television shows. He has The Office. Chappelle had the Chappelle Show, which was, ongoing skit type of comedy, right? This was just a one-time stand-up. Like Eddie Murphy did Raw and Delirious. They were just series of jokes, really funny jokes and stand-up, but not, there wasn't like a theme to the show per se. Maybe it's just your type of humor.
Great recall. Great recall to Eddie Murphy, Raw Delirious, but his jokes hit. They slapped as the younger generation. Right. I didn't feel that.
And this was just mid. This was mid to you.
This was mid. This was really mid.
All right. Listen. I guess it depends on what you're hoping for. I think it was funny. He definitely went to the line and over it several times on several of his jokes, which I guess is what you expect from him. Got a little personal, talked about his divorce, talked about, life after, splitting from his wife and that kind of stuff. Talked about the Will Smith thing, which, of course, I think everyone was waiting for, which is why he ended with it, basically. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to get in front of people and talk for an hour. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, It's not like you could do it every single day.
It's unfair. It's like if we sit here and we're like, hey, I didn't love that special. It's obviously not saying that Chris Rock sucks at what he does.
Yeah,
it's just I've loved his older stuff a lot more than now. He felt like an out of shape kind of quarterback coming back. His stuff wasn't tight.
Right,
it wasn't punchy. It didn't.
Maybe
slap.
Also the lead up to it as well. This is the first time Netflix ever streamed anything.
That's true.
Ever like a live stream for Netflix. Like, all the other networks have done it before, but this is the first time that Netflix ever done it. So you're like, wow, this is gonna really be like I'm gonna make sure I save my ticket stub for this and get it graded kind of event. Like you want to know you were there kind of thing, right? So it is, and if you did happen to go and you did happen to be there at this event and you have a ticket stub, use code Luca Nation. Luca Nation 10, right? That will get you 10% off
I
on
think it's just
on
Luca Nation.
you know it's just Luca Nation. As a matter of fact, use that for all your card grading stuff. Use it for all your card grading. Card grading Luca Nation. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's what you got to do. Beckett, our partner, our sponsor, will be at the Philly show taking home submissions. There'll be a Dallas show. There'll be at Mint coming up at the end of the month doing take home submissions as well. So just weaving that in, weaving the grading and the other fun stuff into the episode there. Guys, bring your stuff. Do you have any cards you want graded?
I do. I feel really good, man. The thing about cards is they're not super liquid. We got used to this liquidity when things were good, and you could turn over a card like that.
Not soda.
No, for the last like six weeks, maybe 8 weeks, I've been just trying to liquidate, trim the fat, reevaluate my portfolio. What buckets do I want to start putting little bits of gold into, so to speak? And I feel really good about where I'm at. I sold off 80% of my collection.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It sounds like a lot, but it's not. I think
Jordan Poole? You have any Jordan Poole left at all?
No.
No Jordan Poole.
I don't love how that Warriors I feel like they've lost a little bit of their edge. We could talk about them. Trimmed 80% of the fat. Moved into cards. One card's arriving today. It's like Grail acquired. I should do like that mail day.
And then sell it in 3 days?
Maybe.
Post Grail acquired and then sell it.
If I'm profitable. If people
I got a Grail! This card's for sale.
It's the Jokic silver. But I always get really scared of telling people I got a card before it actually arrives in hand. There's something about that. Like, you don't want to tempt the forces.
Yeah. I mean, that card was difficult to obtain.
Very hard.
Then it qualifies. Qualifies as a Grail if it's a difficult card to pry that out of someone's hands, right?
Well, you remember maybe 2 weeks ago, I said, what's a better value? One silver
the
10
8-9 blue
or the 8-9? And I was like, well, actually, the better question is, can I really find a deal where I could get a 9 blue and a 10 silver with like value? And that's what I did. I got a 10 silver and I got a 9 blue. And I'm very happy with that. I paid $3,900 for both.
It's nice. And you've been selling other stuff and you use that sale proceeds to kind of get into something you like. And you've grown to love the Joker. You've grown to become a fan of his game and you want to cheer him on. And my thought, I guess, is after you spend that money on it, you will now sit back and enjoy watching him, get the 1 seed, get his 3rd MVP, and hopefully make a little bit of a playoff run, make some noise. And if he doesn't, you don't mind holding those cards into next year and watching him go for a 4th MVP. And maybe they build a team around him and maybe he has some playoff success because he's not ancient. He's in his 20s. He still has a hug of a career in front of him. So in addition to kind of consolidating and moving some of your stuff into, higher end, harder to acquire stuff, you're also maybe layering in a little fandom into it. Is that fair?
I think I did it with Mahomes too. Would you say that's? I'm not an early adopter. I don't jump on, and I'm not willing to wait 3-4 years. But what I saw with Joker this year is I actually thought he was going to regress a lot this season. 2 MVPs. I didn't think that this team would be in this position.
Well, he had a pretty weak MVP last year. I mean, they really kind of bent over backwards to get him the MVP by his standards. So comparing this year to last year, he's having a significantly better year. Last year was one of the weaker MVP campaigns. I mean, there were other people who probably had, I think, a better argument to win the MVP last year. Just on stats, I know stats don't matter. But yes, he's definitely overperformed his last year MVP thing. Your Mahomes is different, though, bro. Your Mahomes is different because while you love Mahomes and you're a fan of Mahomes, you were patient and thoughtful about what cards to acquire on Jokic. Whereas Mahomes, you didn't do that. You jumped in and actually, I believe, regretted for a while which cards you bought of Mahomes. Even though you were buying the right person, you were not thoughtful about which cards to buy of that player. And it actually kind of took away from it a little bit. You know what I mean? And then you had that card. It was weird because it was a 1-of-1. and it wound up not getting paid a bunch of times. I mean, it's all part of the public record, and then you sold it, and you did get paid for it eventually, right?
I got bailed out. You know what I mean? I got bailed out on the sale. It did do
Mm-hmm.
really well. Obviously, there's a 30-day period where it could still get returned and all that stuff, but it was a bailout. But I still did it. Like, I wasn't sitting with the card knowing that if everything else kind of fell through, I'd be happy holding it.
Right.
So, whereas if everything falls through Jokic, I still am holding the right card of his or card.
That's a very, I think, important lesson to learn with the cards, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if you're buying cards of players who are active, right? So it's easy to be an old man like me and buy Jerry Rice's rookie card and Joe Montana's rookie card and say, okay, these are the cards. Cards have gotten a little tougher. And the cards people want with serial numbers and parallels and rookies and patch autos and the whole deal, people who are buying cards of active players now, I mean, nothing wrong with it, obviously, but it is something you need to research a little bit more. I think it's something you need to, really make sure when you put your money in that it is exactly what you just said, that you're buying the card that you don't mind hanging on to for a little bit of time, right? Sure, if everything breaks right, you're ready to sell Jokic. I mean, you can get that card today or tomorrow in the mail, and he can go on a 15-game win streak where he scores 45 points a game, and everyone's like, geez, this guy is amazing. And you could get, double the money you just paid for your two cards because it's hard to pry those cards out of people's hands. You might take it. Doesn't mean you're buying it knowing I have to hold this forever, but you don't mind doing it.
Well, specifically what I think could happen is you could see a supply shock where that happens. And we always think of performance as what drives card prices, but it's a lack of collectors' willingness to sell, or collectors not willing to sell the card is really what actually would drive price. So if no collectors are willing to sell a silver because they think a run is imminent and they could do big things, the next one that comes up for auction in the 10 might be a $4,000, $4,500 card on the open market.
So I think the difference with cards than like short squeezes and stuff, if you talk about that with the available supply and a supply shock, is especially with modern cards. And the Joker is a great example of one that's even tough with, because he didn't have a lot of cards, but there's always another card, right? So I know the blue and the silver are ones that you like and ones that the Jokic lovers like, but I think in order for that supply shock kind of theory that you're talking about to kind of come into play, somebody has to want to become a Joker buyer like you did and buy at a certain price. You probably would not be a buyer of the silver at 4,000, right? But if only silvers were available at 4,000, you might buy a select, you might buy an optic, you might buy something else at the right price, at a lower price. So even though this, you have the theory of supply shock, I think that happens more with all right, something, let's call it fungible, right? Apple stock. When there's a whole bunch of shorts out there and there's not enough supply, there's a squeeze that happens. With cards, it's not exactly that. Sure, you're right. If everybody who came into Jokic wanted to only buy the Jokic silver and PSA 10, and you knew the next 20 people coming in, that's all they'd want to buy, then yeah, the price is going to move up. But at some point, someone's going to come in, one of those next 20 people, and say, all right, this price has moved up so much, I'm going with the optic, or I'm going with, 10 of the base. Or
the challenge, Cage, is there is no optic, though.
Right. Well,
the challenge is there's select, but
select, yep.
Select from that year. I was looking at the select. It gets no
optic
love.
Didn't come out till the year after, but right. I'm taking outside of Jokic and just talking more.
But that is one of the things that Jokic has in his favor, that people want to, that weird kind of awkward in the middle where he doesn't have very many cards. So it forces people into this. It forces, and people don't want retail. People don't want the shock. People don't want the orange wave for whatever reason.
Right. So even though it's the right person, you got the wrong card, right? I mean, it's
in this scenario.
This works.
I didn't just buy what I love. I bought with what I love and what I think the market.
Isn't it nice when you love also lines up with what the market's going to love also?
Sort of, but here's another lesson I learned: in these silvers, don't buy PSA 7, 8, and 9s either. So sometimes it feels like the 10 is out of reach. But if you're really going to make a move for that 10. Don't buy the 8 because that's when there's 500 8s. People are going to chase after 10. But so anyway, we could dovetail into basketball. I'm not sitting here telling people they should or shouldn't buy Jokic. I like his game. I like how he's evolved. I think I like that his cards don't come up for sale every week. I think there's something about that. Like holding Mahomes, it was a little frustrating. There's like 7,000 or 8,000 of his silver rookies. There were like 10 PSA 9s in the last weekly auction. It's a little frustrating.
Yep. I mean, listen,
Jokic. Are you
reading
DMs?
No, I was looking at the collectible. You remember the one we gave as a play a long time ago, the Jokic Prism Power from Select 1 of 1? I was curious what it was selling for and whether or not that became, something that could be
interesting.
Something, worth making a buyout. Remember we gave that, it was like a $12,000 or $13,000 card for the longest time. But in the last month it's flown. It's gone up to it's like 20 now, when it was like 12 or 13 for the longest time, basically flat. I go on there just because it's pretty funny, right? Like the 15-16 National Treasures rookie auto numbered 1 of 1 in PSA 9 sold for $61,000 in 2021 June at Golden. So that's like his number 1 of 1. You'd buy that now if you had that money. I'm sure it's worth significantly more than that, even though
it's the 1 of 1 NT Platinum.
Yeah, but it's not. He doesn't have an RPA, I don't think, in that. But he does have some other RPAs. He's got a Noir RPA, which is a pretty cool looking card. He's got some, he's got some other cards. It was just the first thing I thought of, like, different places to look and, comparative for the price. But still, the Select, it was the weird one. I remember it was like Prism Power, and it's like a sticker auto, and it's like it's from the Select 1 of 1. Still a cool card. But yeah, I mean, listen, I love what you're saying, and it's worth going through that. I'm happy that you're, listen, we've been doing this for almost 3 years. You still find a different way to pivot. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what collecting is. It's kind of what, curating a collection is. And more importantly, it's almost like refining and developing a palate. It's what makes the hobby fun. If you were doing wine, it would be the same thing. You start off drinking one thing and you refine your palate and you get into other things, you move up into, Burgundy or whatever it is that you're going to drink after your first, couple of times in. What's fun about it though is the ability to mirror collection with somebody who you're a fan of, who you're going to root for. That's, that's the cool thing. And you can only do that with active players. The other day, Devontae Graham dropped 28 off the bench, and I was like, yeah, look at this guy, Devontae Graham.
He still played San Antonio twice back-to-back.
Yeah, back-to-back. Yeah, I saw that. In the first game, it was great. He was like 7 for 15 and overall, and 7 for 12 from 3. Like, he didn't hit a 2-point shot. All of his shots were from 3 on the free throw line. I was like, the stats are weird. Let me throw one out.
He's going to find a home. I think I could see Devontae finishing his career as a 6-7, not a 6, like a 7 or 8 guy off the bench. I could see him getting a championship.
I like him. He said, "We'll see." I enjoy watching players.
He shouted out his mom on draft night.
But how about this? The game has changed tremendously. All right, it was a double overtime game. You talked about the Knicks. Great game for the Knicks. I thought they were done. There was a point in the third quarter where they were down double digits, and I'm like, all right, fine. They're okay with the streak, being over. They're going to mail it in. I think they got Charlotte next before they go on a little bit of a road trip. And, they'll regroup. They'll beat Charlotte, and then they'll go on the trip, and they'll do. But they didn't pack it in. But here's the funny one.
They sat Brunson, too, which is kind of like a sign of, like, let's rest for the trip.
Over under 82.5 3-pointers shot between the two teams in last night's game.
Well, for the Celtics,
would you go over or under?
Well,
go ahead, you could.
The Celtics are sort of mirroring what the Warriors' blueprint was. It's the trio of backcourt guards.
Yep.
Smart is kind of the Draymond. You have Clay and Jaylen Brown. Obviously differences, but like they're mirroring the Warriors' strategy of what it takes to win. So they clearly changed their model to shooting more threes. It makes sense for the Celtics. For Tom Thibodeau, I'm impressed by him this year because he has evolved his offense a little. And usually the Knicks are kind of like bruisers, get to the rim, bang down low, get offensive rebounds. They're starting to shoot threes. And IQ is like a microwave, they say. He could heat up quickly.
82.5, over or under?
Over.
The Knicks had 41, and they won. Over under 82.5.
The Celtics take a ton of threes. I think the Celtics take the most threes in the league. I think
they
take 45.
59 3-point attempts.
Yeah, they take a ton
the
of threes.
Two teams had 100 3-point attempts in the game yesterday. That's insanity. That's insane. It's just showing the change of the game. Though. That's not what I mean is from where I come from, where, believe it or not, when I was born, the 3-point shot didn't even exist. I'm that old. Okay, there was not a 3-point shot when I was born. I'm really dating myself here. But yes, I am that old. There was no 3-point shot when I was born. And you want to look up when it came in? It came in 1979. It came in.
They still didn't. 90. You're right. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird's rookie season. Why did they say it's not the same season?
So really crazy, just interesting stuff. And I love the game. I love watching it. IQ, I mean, it's fun because I don't know if he has a spot, but when they play him, he plays well. When they play him, he's a real, he's exciting. He's one of these logo 3-point shooters that when he's hitting, it looks good. When he's off, he looks terrible. I mean, he can look really bad.
They do this thing now. It's like points per possession. I think that's like what kind of gets the analytics age. But dude, Josh Hart, would not even rank anywhere on analytics. I think they're 9-0 since they brought him in. And it's just like he's a guy who gets you offensive rebounds and gets you extra possessions. And if you get extra possessions and you could, get 3-pointers up, it's tough to beat. It's going to be hard. I'll say the Knicks, this is kind of the top signal for them, in my opinion. They're going to have a good run, but they're always a tough out for the Celtics. For whatever reason, those teams don't match up well. Even like a year and a half ago, I remember I was at Bleecker. It was like a double overtime game in New York. Knicks are always a tough match for the Celtics. I think they're going to.
Boston, it's a rivalry. It always is in every sport and everything. Just the way it works. So you got that. Nets. Nice little win last night too. They're hanging on after trading away everybody. They're still, I think they're 36-28 or something like that. Mikal Bridges had a 19-point first quarter, I think. I mean, impressive game. Impressive.
So one of my favorite players of all time, one of the most underrated players
all time
in history. Yeah.
Spud Webb.
No. I don't care about Spud.
You're getting a Spud Webb auto.
Nice. I'll tell you a little funny inside joke about that later. Shaun Livingston, man, people don't remember him. He had this terrible knee injury. He went to the Warriors, and I actually think he was one of the most integral, that's the right word, parts of that championship run. Man, Mikal Bridges reminds me of his game so much. That high release, he's long, he's lanky. No one can stop him when he gets to his spot. No one can block him. No one can do anything. And Shaun Livingston became automatic with that like 10 to 18 10 to 18 feet away from the basket. Man, I love Bridges' game. I'm looking maybe to make a splash with a Bridges card. I like his style, man. And he doesn't miss games, man. I still can't believe the Sixers passed on him. Playing at Nova, this guy. How do you miss on Bridges?
So the game that stuck out to me the most last night was the guy who the hobby is eventually going to give up on.
Luka.
You got to take responsibility for your actions. Luka. You know what that team showed me last night? It showed me that the Suns are okay. The Suns have some top line talent, but I don't know if I'm the Suns. I'm a little nervous. If I'm Dallas, I'm really nervous. It's funny. Like, the Suns won the game. I wouldn't be too impressed. I mean, Dallas plays no defense. No defense. Dallas was ahead the whole time. They just needed to get a stop or two down the stretch, and they could not. Durant, 37 on 17 shots. 12 of 17, 37. And looked like he was just, I don't want to say effortless. That last shot, the game winner that he hit, I had to back it up and show Ian. I'm like, look at this. Like, that was actually defense from Dallas. Yeah. Like, 3 guys kind of got their hand, even I think it was Bullock over in the corner was even reaching, or maybe it was Powell reaching in for it. Like, they actually played decent defense there, but Durant, heck of a shot, heck of a shot from Durant. They are going to be a tough out. because they've been doing this with basically Ayton plays like one quarter a game. Ayton shows up for a quarter, and the rest of the game, he's just gone. What? Are you poking me?
No, I'm agreeing with you without trying to cut you off because I'm so glad you pointed that out.
Shoot.
Why? You're killing it.
Can Ayton play a whole quarter? I mean, can he play a whole game? Are there just too many people who need to get touches there? Why is it he starts off like a house on fire and then he just disappears?
Some guys, and I'll tell you this, I was this kind of soccer player too. I could only impact the game in one way. And if that way wasn't finding me, I sort of got lost in the game. And what Ayton could do, and you can't change the stripes on a zebra, is he could find himself in offensive rebounds and winning that battle, right? Because he's actually a finesse player. He's got a nice touch. He's got a nice little like kind of the Marcus Aldridge jump shot. And then if he's not getting touches like Booker, CP3, Durant, or any other shots, he falls out of the game. Go to work on the offensive rebounds. You see, I think one of the last 3 or 4 points is he finished the offensive
back. Yeah.
If he
but they were looking for him. Durant passed it to him a couple of times. CP3 passed it to him. There's a couple of alley-oops and stuff like that. They're definitely looking.
You don't need that, Deandre. That's a cherry on top. Go to work on the boards. Go to work on the glass because you're 7'1". He's a big dude. He's athletic. If he does that, they'll be unstoppable. I don't think he would do that. I think he's a little bit soft. And if he doesn't get his touches and his 19-foot jump shot and his little spin move, he falls out of the game. But I'm so glad you brought up Ayton because I think he's the X factor for the Suns.
That's the key. I mean, it's difficult to say that. They have another guy. I forget. It was number 13 last night. Just out of nowhere. I'm like, why is Dallas letting this scrub? No, I don't know. Is Carter maybe is his name? You got to take a look. I mean, I think it was 13. Shooting 3-pointers. I'm like, how is Dallas, of all the guys on the Suns, Dallas is letting this guy beat him? I was watching the game. I was flipping between a couple of different games and opening cards with Ian and stuff. So I was.
Do you have an NBA? What is that called? The NBA.
Yes, the League Pass. Yes, League Pass. Yeah. So I mean, listen, the Suns, man, the Suns are going to be a tough out. I think. I mean, the Suns are going to be a tough out. So give me your take on. Here's the thing. I like putting people in positions that they have no business speaking about. And you in Luka's position, like Luka, he's starting fights with people. He's not taking accountability. He's starting drama. He's doing all this crazy stuff. He's just not saying, all right, it's on me. You would never find yourself in this position ever. So I'll put you in a weird spot. Let's talk about Luka. Tell me what's going on with Luka right now. Are you a fan of Luka?
Yeah, dude, he's insane. He's so good. I thought that the Suns should win that game. Suns should win that game easily, and just because of how good Luka is, he's able to keep them in the game. It was an offensive foul. I don't see anything
Ish
wrong
Wainwright, by the way. Wainwright. That's who it was.
4
Wayne
for 5 from 3. What's the issue with Luka? I don't understand.
He complains. He complains a lot.
To the ref.
To the refs every single time.
But he didn't complain after the game. He said, this is just good banter. This is what you guys pay for. This is competition. This is what you enjoy. Just don't start talking 3 seconds before the game's over. What's wrong with that comment?
Booker started talking 3 seconds before the game was over because Luka missed a shot at 3 seconds left. You're going to get talked to. People are going to talk crap to you. That's what's going to happen. Especially when you go 1 for 9 from 3, and I think 8 for 23 for the game was some craziness that he shot. 1 for 9 from 3. I talked to him. I can't shoot. I get 1 for 9 from 3. Forget about that.
First off, do you forget that I blew you out for 50 on your own home court? So, like, you're sitting here talking because you want.
What have you done for me lately?
I hear you, but that's what Luka's thinking. It's like,
ooh, yeah.
You guys just got.
Why are you bringing up old shit?
You guys just got Durant.
Bring up old shit.
This is a game down the stretch, and you start talking shit when I miss a bunny. Fine.
A bunny? Yeah. And not only that, he basically chucked the defender. I mean, it's a clear offensive foul from Luka.
100%.
Threw the guy on the ground, staring at the basket. And misses.
Ball
I'm going to talk to him, too. I'm going to talk to him.
Fine, but Luka's point is still solid. It's like talk shit the whole time. Don't just talk shit 3 seconds before the game's over.
Luke is a complainer, and then he gets in his face, and it's a double technical, and it shouldn't have even been a double technical. Got bailed. He should have got the technical. Booker actually behaved himself there. He talked to him. You don't get technical for that. Get out of here. Kevin Garnett would have got a technical every play.
I think that's what we as fans pay for. Is we love to see that competition. You guys, on one hand, say the NBA is people don't defend it; it's not competitive. Then you see competition, then you get frustrated.
No, that's not. But it's not competition. He lost the competition. He lost the competition.
He lost the battle, not the war. The war's still going on.
You have a silly way of looking at things. But the complaining.
Get in line. You think you're the first person that's told me I have a silly way of looking at things?
No, I can't be the first. I can't be the first. Okay.
There's a fucking line out the door, Cage.
Yes, it's true. But what are you going to do about that? Are you just going to shut the door? Are you going to put your headphones on and not listen to the people who are lined up to tell you how weird you are? Are you going to look at the camera? Are you going to look at the camera and say, I'm not perfect? Are you ready to do it? People love it. People have clipped that part and sent it to me. They've DM'd me. They say, why does he just look at the camera and say, I'm not perfect, Cage? Just let him to do it. Tell him to do it.
First off, what happens with Cage that's so interesting is I don't actually know the question I'm answering.
That's right.
Which makes it infinitely
harder. Which makes this awesome.
So, I'll say 99.9% of my life, I take full responsibility for if things go my way, things don't go my way. I realize that I'm in control of my decisions. And I'm in control of how I react to external circumstances, so to speak. The reality is, though,
I forgot what I was going to say.
No, I want to word it right and delicately.
Listen, I mean, you've done pretty good so far. Chris Rock is not funny. You could do better.
I understand with what we're building. It's going to come with criticism, feedback, some personal, some professional. And if the goals and dreams that I want to have, I want to accomplish, I understand that this is just the price to pay. And it takes some time to reflect because it still hurts emotionally at times. But logically, I understand that if I could do that for us, for the team, am I putting us in a position to win? I think I'm strong enough to handle criticism and understand when it's feedback and understand when it's just, people venting and want to get things off their shoulders. And you also have to understand, Cage, jealousy is an interesting thing. It doesn't present itself always the same way, right? So
no one's ever been jealous of me, so I wouldn't know. You know what I mean? I think to say that it's jealousy assumes that you're in a position for people to be jealous of you. I would never make that presumption.
You wouldn't, or I wouldn't.
Me personally.
I think jealousy presents itself differently than we might see it on the surface. We think jealousy, I'll be jealous of John Morant because he has so much money, right? But oftentimes jealousy might be hey, I'm jealous of how this person isn't scared to fail time and time and time again and get back up, right?
Okay.
Or, man, I'm jealous that this person, doesn't have a lot of the responsibilities in my life that I do. And
who are you jealous of?
I've had periods where I was jealous of my sister because I've always felt that life came a little bit easier to her. And I was like, man, she's so likable.
She smiles.
People open doors for her. And I'm like, man, I care so much. I have such a big heart, but it sometimes rubs people the wrong way. And I wonder why that is. So I was always jealous of how her interpersonal skills,
I'm going to challenge you.
Sure. Please.
I'm going to challenge you.
You've challenged me literally since day one.
100%. But there'll be people listening to this, I think, who'll probably get this. In our 3 years of doing this fun stuff, we've had relationships with folks that have not gone the way that you'd want them to go. Business relationships, right? It doesn't have to mean you burn the personal side. So I'm going to challenge you. And I'm going to challenge myself too, because I've had this also just in our podcast and in our hobby. There have been people I was friendlier with, that I had, a better relationship with, that it cooled, it soured for whatever reason. I say 2023, right? Let's olive branches. Reach out to one or two of them. Reach out to one that didn't end the way you would have liked it to end. Because at that time in your life, you didn't know how to end it. At that time in your life, it just, it was easier to just kind of turn the page, hit the block button, you name it. Even though that person might be, just trying to help. Maybe reach out to that person and say, hey, if Hillary Clinton had a reset button, why can't I? Let's hit the reset button, right? Let's see whether or not we can start over and see if we can, at least build on this. You don't want to say the word I'm sorry? That's great. You don't have to say I'm sorry. Who's that? Bieber? He had a Bieber song with his sorry. You don't have to do that. But listen, I generally think that almost everybody in this hobby wants to help you, wants to help me. I do. And maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm stupid. And sometimes it doesn't come across that way. Sometimes, we start heading down a mission with somebody and it just it doesn't work out the way we want. Doesn't mean we have to blow up the bridge. Doesn't mean we have to explode the whole thing. So I'm going to challenge you to think about it. Don't have to say it on a podcast. It can be behind the scenes. Think about maybe 1 or 2, 7 people that you think maybe I'll reach out to. Maybe somebody I haven't spoken to in 6 months or a year. I'm going to reach out to and I'm going to say, look, this didn't end the way it should have ended. I'm gonna try to be the bigger person. And I'm gonna say, thank you for all the stuff you did. Let's work on mending fences. And guys,
so can I tell you kind of initially where my heart and my mind
please. It doesn't have to be hobby, by the way. This could be anything.
So one of the things that, back to jealousy, one of the things I am jealous of my sister and people is that they don't actually care about that. So what actually hurt me always the most is I am the olive branch guy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So they don't have to give an olive branch to anyone, you're saying? Or they don't care?
They don't no, and you know these people. Like, you've had people, friends in your life that like, doesn't matter, right? It doesn't it doesn't sink in. It doesn't, the interpersonal stuff doesn't matter. Yeah. And they brush it off and they leave with such levity. Yep. I've always taken things a little bit more to heart, right? Because I do give so much. So I think I give so much. I want to be clear, right?
Yeah, we want to be very clear.
I think I give so much. So, and then when it does, it might not go as planned. I'll still give out that olive branch and I'll say, what happened? Or maybe how can I have done this better? Mm-hmm. What hurts me is after those olive branches are given, there's still this spit in face type of vibe. And I still haven't reconciled with that. And I think is part of the reason is I give with expectation, even if it's an expectation of, appreciation or recognition. And I'm learning that, right? And that's just full transparency, kind of how I see it.
I get you. I mean, listen, you can take it however you want. I'm going to do the same thing, right? There are people who,
Contextualize any of this for people listening who have no clue what.
I think most people understand. Listen, the easy
no one cares or knows. I got 2 DMs from the troll accounts that no one cares.
So forget about then any specifics. There are people in life, where life is turning a page here. The hobby's turning a page. We're seeing people again. Where we've rounded the corner of COVID isolation, and a lot of people are going back to work. A lot of people are seeing family and friends again, and it's rekindling relationships. You can take it that way if you like. For Andrew, I guess my thing is, and I get this all the time from people as well. Hey, I reached out and I was trying to help you guys, and you guys didn't give me the time of day, or I really wish I could have done more with you guys, or I still think I can help you guys. I wish you had more time for me. There are people in our paths. There are people in our lives that I don't want to say feel wronged, but I'm going to say feel wronged, right? And I think you could probably come up with 1 or 2 or 3 or 7 of them, like I said, and maybe pick one. So I can't give it much more context than that because I don't want to make it about you or about me. I want to make it about people who are listening.
In my experience, anytime that you rekindle with exes, it ends worse than when you first started.
Well, that's a romantic entanglement, right? It doesn't have to be that way specifically, right? I mean, I can tell you there are definitely people listening to this who I've spoken with in the last week or 2 who would love to hear from you. I can say that right off the bat. And you don't think that. But otherwise, I wouldn't be putting this challenge out there for you. If you need me to, I can give you some names. But trust me, there are people out there who I got a message today from somebody who says, I've been watching the last couple episodes. I have some advice for Andrew. I'd love to talk to Andrew again. We used to talk all the time, and I'd love to talk to him. Seriously. Seriously.
Man, I need to get married and have kids so all these motherfuckers stop trying to teach me.
Well, that's kind of true. I mean,
Kind of
not
true,
about
right?
not married and kids. I mean, the difficult part for you is everybody else gets to carry on their hobby life in obscurity, and you don't. You come on here every single day. And if you talk every day, you give people more things to take a swipe at. That's a volume thing, right? Luca is out there complaining to the refs every single day. So we're able to say, Luca, stop complaining to the refs every single day because he's there doing it in every single game in your face, right? If Luca was on the schoolyard or somewhere else and he wasn't on TV, people wouldn't be complaining about him too much. I'm not comparing you to Luca being on TV, but you understand what I'm saying. It's less about married, not married, kids, no kids. You have a volume of takes, you have a volume of things you say. The more things you put out there, the more things you give people to have an opinion about. Is that fair?
For sure, for sure, for sure. You love your kids, right?
No, I hate them, but I do love them and hate them sometimes. Yes,
When
I
they
love my
bring
kids.
home a bad grade,
Yes.
when they maybe in school ask a question without raising their hand or speak or talk back to the teacher, disrupt the
Mhm.
class, do you love them less?
No, but they do have to learn a lesson that that's not something they should be doing.
Right. So
It's less about love. So that's one of the fun things that I take from this, right? All the things I'm
mm,
talking about have nothing to do with love or romantic entanglements, or it's
we
not
think
about.
love is
Yeah.
romantic, but what I mean is we often say or give love or like or appreciation or respect if that person changes. I will like you more if you do what I say. I will like you more if you act as if I want you to. And the reality is, we're all trying our best. We all are fighting battles. And if we give each other grace, I love you, Cage, but I could give you feedback too.
Of
But
course.
it won't change how I feel about you.
What I'm going to say, but that's not it. See, it's backwards. And even that line of thinking, it almost is closed minded. It's almost like saying, all right, I'm going to live my life. I'm going to do my thing. You can have your opinion about me. But if I do it my way, you guys out there should not think differently of me. It shouldn't make you hate me. It shouldn't make you feel less love for me. That is not it. That is
I don't
not
mean it
what's
like
being
that.
said. But that's how it comes across.
I
It's
understand.
you're doing one of these like I don't want to hear it. I don't want the and you know what? You are free to take it or leave it, right? I think what's amazing about it is, and this is how I look at it, and you can look at it however you want. Yeah, maybe people do view you as more of a youngster. But what I've seen for the last 935 episodes, and then some, those are just our
Mhm.
numbered you and I talk. That's not the other bonus shit we've done. We've probably done over 1,000 things, count our whatnot and whatnot. But today's episode 9, over 935 episodes. You go back and you look at our page and look at you almost 3 years ago, you look different. You are different. And
Okay.
people, this is fair, dude. And it's just like a
No,
TV show.
and agreeing with you.
People,
Yes.
people, people have watched you grow up. People have watched your journey in the hobby more so than mine. Because I started off an old man who liked old cardboard, and I'm still an old man who likes old cardboard. Sure, I got into crypto and all this other great stuff, and I've had a fun little journey on the way. But people have watched you start in the hobby. People have watched you start. People have listened to your takes on life. People have listened to your takes on business and entrepreneur and relationships. And in the background, you've built relationships with people as you have gone and progressed in this hobby. People have watched that. People have, like a young Hollywood kid. People have watched you grow up in front of their eyes. And whether you want to admit it or not, whether you want to realize it or not, some of these people, yeah, usually it's people with more life experience than you. They want to give you some life knowledge. They want to reach out and say, hey, Andrew, that thing you said here, this is how I took it. Here's what I would have done differently. Here's what I said. It's up to you to say fuck off, or it's up to you to say, okay, I can take that in, I can listen. But for some reason, people see you, they see your journey, and they really do want to reach out and kind of guide. I really do believe that's where it comes from. Now, I also think that
Why do they want to
recently,
guide?
maybe they made some of the same mistakes that you're making in life, and they want you to see and maybe prevent you from making the same mistakes they've made. And instead of you turning around and saying, screw you, this is my life, I'm going to do it my way, I have nothing to say to any of you guys, maybe you let them try to help you. Because I really do believe people are trying to help you. People don't want to help me.
You really believe that?
I do. I
Okay.
swear I do. And it's only because of my DMs, man. I can tell you, people, it's the weirdest shit in the world, right? Because people are like, Cage, we love you. What's with your boy? And I'm like, what do you mean, what's with my boy? And then, oh, well, he could have done this, this, and this. I would have told him this, this, and this. I want to tell him, but he doesn't respond to me. I've sent him a message, and I think it makes him mad. And I'm like, all right, well, put yourself in his shoes. What if some dude from a different state who he's never met in person reached out and gave you advice? You'd be like, "F off!" Who the hell are you to give it? Like, think of how it would land
You
if
trust these people?
some of them, yes.
What if I told you I've never got that message?
Then people would be lying to me, which is
This is what
possible.
this is what they do, bro. And
I mean, some of these people I've met in person, some of these people I've
I
had
know
like
that's
in
what
my
makes it.
car, some of them have
I
met
know.
my child, and I'm like, it would surprise me if
I
they
know,
were,
man.
because the lie would be, there'd be no gain to it. It's like, hey, I've reached out, I tried to make it all huggy, I make it all better and the whole deal, and it just, what, it falls on deaf ears. I've reached out 7 times so far in 2023, and I've only gotten 2 words back. Like, and you know what? It's fine, dude. I'll never tell you what to do. Right? I'll never tell you what to
Did they
do.
send a screenshot?
Some people have sent screenshots, but the screenshots are just the messages that they're allegedly sending to you, which I guess could be fabricated if we're really going to go down that road. But what's the proof of them sending you a message and you not sending anything back? How are they gonna prove a negative, right? You know what I mean? Like, oh, see, he didn't send anything back. It's a blank.
For
So
all you guys that have played sports, you know this. You've had coaches that give you feedback because they want to make themselves look good. And then you might have that one coach in your entire life. Maybe it's a teacher who genuinely cares about you and your success and puts herself or herself in your position and gives you feedback out of, again, the word love. You think of like love your kids, love your wife, but I'm talking about from a place of love. I really want the best for this person.
So let me tell you, you're probably right. Let me be the one. Let me be Mr. Schatzman. That was my English teacher
That was who
in
he
ninth
was. Not,
grade, and he was
it's
the one who got me into yearbook. So Mr. Koplowitz was my best 7th grade math teacher. I had him for 7th and 8th grade. There are a couple of good teachers. Let me be that for you, okay? Um, I plan to be in this hobby for a long time, and I'd love to do nothing more than to speak to everybody who's listening now and grow that audience and help the hobby grow by talking about our journeys. I hope to do that for a long damn time. And I hope you do it with me for a long time. But in order for that to happen, you have to maintain credibility within the space. You have to be somebody that people want to listen to. And you have to be somebody who is, I think, able to be a little more flexible. There's the teacher who's coming from a place of love for you. And maybe that hasn't worked for you in the past. I don't know. I don't know your whole history. I don't know your whole journey. And this is really getting far off from the hobby here. But I think you like to go at it alone. I think you like to, and then I took that personally. And maybe that fuels your fire. Maybe that is all right. If people don't like the way I'm doing it, screw them. Then let them do it themselves. They're not walking a mile in my shoes, blah, blah, blah. I think that has gotten you so far. Maybe, just maybe, the next chapter that won't work. Maybe. I could be dead wrong here.
Well,
maybe
actually, you're 100% right.
Okay.
So
All right, good.
You
You
know
heard
that's
it first. It took 935 episodes, folks. He said I was right.
Yeah, I've never said you're right.
I'm just playing.
I'm the bully on this podcast.
Bull.
All that stuff is true, and I was like, I walk a lot now,
Mhm.
and I was like, man, my whole life I've walked this journey alone. I was like, why do people come in my life and then fall by the wayside? Why can't I retain people in my life? So it's an accurate question. I don't know the answer, Cage, but I do know it's not because of bad intent. It might be bad execution.
All right,
But it's not because of bad intent. And you can't say that my actions don't support that I give a full-fledged effort to make things work. And then when things don't work,
that's sometimes
no, I understand. Stay with me, and then you'll give me the feedback. So I'm like, I do give the effort. I do put forward. I do try to put other people forward. Why does it not work out? Why am I, judged by the mistake I made or the tone I said something with, but not this whole list of things that I've done? So, I can't reconcile that. I just got to
tell you.
Yeah, please. Maybe if we're going this route of a therapy session.
I'm spending just as much time on my 1 card loss this year as in my 10 card gains. I've made the right call a bunch of times, but the wrong call once. And that the mind of the hobbyist is always going to have that one bad one outweigh the 10 good ones. So if you're going to sit back and say, why does everybody just judge me on my one bad? Look at all the other goods I do. That's just the world. And we're all the same way. I'm the same way, right? It's just like, hey, today everybody's talking about Luka losing and missing his easy shot, and how does he talk smack to Booker when Booker and that team got the best of him? Very few people have the brain you have, which is, what about when he beat you by 50 on his home court? They don't think about that. They think about what's right in front of them. That's the tough part.
I'm not Jesus. I'm not a deity. I'm going to make mistakes, man. I'm going to say things improperly. I'm going to have a wrong tone.
This is true. We all are. None of us are infallible. None of us are perfect.
And one of the things I've always admitted was my challenge of working with people in teamwork. That was always my biggest challenge, because I care so much. I push. I have initiative, but I might say that wrong. I might snap. That might be misinterpreted.
Yeah. Listen, I threw down a challenge for you. It'll be behind the scenes. I don't know how to execute on the challenge. I don't know how. Yes, you do.
How? If I've been repeating the same thing for my entire life, I'm trying to be honest with you. It happened in sports as well.
I mean, then you'll lose the challenge, and that's fine. To me, this challenge is easy.
I know it's easy for you.
Close your eyes and think back to people who have helped you along the way, who you think were being altruistic, who you think might have been doing it out of the kindness of their hearts, who really did want to see you succeed. And for one reason or another, whether it was your fault, their fault, or a combination of two, it did not end the way you would have ended it if you could go back and change it. And then send them a message and say exactly that. I think we both had the same goal in mind. I think we both would have liked to have seen this end differently. For my role in that, I'd love to start over. You don't have to use the word "I apologize." Is that hard?
That very discussion, that very conversation at our cigar night, where we're hosting people, was held. That very conversation. So think about that. So the event happened.
Yep.
The friction, the breakup, he said, she said, Then when I'm at cigar night, I have that conversation. Let's have a man-to-man. Let's talk. I could have done this differently. Shake hands. Okay. No issues. And then revisited 6 months later. At some point, you got to hold your ground and be like,
I got you. Pick somebody else. That's not who I'm talking about, by the way. Somebody else.
So the person who I might have said something wrong to them, to then go and get him a contract to go fly out to Mint to do videography.
No, I wasn't thinking about him either. There's a long list, pal.
No, but do you see, it's tough, bro.
Long list.
It's tough.
Yeah, I understand, but here's the thing, right? But
People
here's the
listening to
thing.
this probably think, man, we never realized how big of a scumbag Andrew is. He has
No,
this
I
list.
think I
He
think
has
people
this
realize I have
list
a long
of.
list. But here's the thing, even just what you just talked about, right? The the contract, you think about it like, wow, all has been smoothed over. Any bad stuff was clearly, look what I did. I went and I got this great thing for the person. So, number one, they may think they got it because of their talent, not because of you. And number two, maybe they think, okay, that was nice, but that's what you should do for somebody. It doesn't make up for all the other shit that you shouldn't do. I mean, I understand, dude. Trust me, I get where you're going with it, right? It'd be nice if the whole world were debits and credits, and you could make up for bad stuff by saying, okay, but look, I did this one good thing for you. It's not the way it works.
You're an amazing lawyer, bro.
It's not the way it works. You know what I'm saying. You know
I
what
have
I'm saying.
no
And the
idea.
people listening know what I'm saying. They do. They do. Because I'm not perfect,
I'm
dude.
sure
I do this
they
shit all the
do.
time. I do this shit
I'm
all
sure
the
they
time.
do. You're the hobby hero.
No, aha! Forget about me. This is you. This is all you. This is you. 100% you. I'm not
You're
a hero.
so coy.
People hate me. Trust me. Plenty of people hate me. And I've had to apologize to plenty of people because that's the way it works. I'll even do one right now. Every once in a while, I take a shot at Jeff Wilson's content. Sorry, Jeff. You know I love you. Jeff reached out to me last week, wants to have a cigar at Mint. 100%, Jeff. I'm bringing us cigars. I do it. I don't know why.
It's probably
Every
a
once in
candy
a-
cigarette. If I kind of
You know what it is? I'll say that. Maybe there is some jealousy there. Damn, the production content for that guy is amazing. And I have a microphone that bounces off my face and pops according to most of our YouTube commentary. And I don't fix it. And Jeff's stuff, it could be on television.
Polished, clean.
Polished, clean. And every once in a while, I'll take a shot at Jeff. I'm sorry, Jeff. Do you see that? Do you see what I just did? Why is that so damn hard for you? And that's another episode, folks. You can think about it.
With nearly 40 years as the most trusted resource for collectors, dating back to the first Beckett magazine in 1984, Beckett has been the brand that bridges generations of the hobby. We're happy to be partnering with Beckett and look forward to keeping you all updated on the big things happening at the company in 2023. Beckett. It's the name you know and the name you can trust.